Steelers Nation, pay attention. What we learned coming out of Victory Tuesday is that this team is walking a very fine line between momentum and uncertainty. The win came, the weight of the jersey showed up once again, but the warning light is on, and it all starts with the injury situation Mike Tomlin laid out straight from the podium in Southside. There's no room to sugarcoat reality. Yes, the win mattered. Yes, the division picture still looks favorable, but the margin for error is getting thinner with each passing day, especially with the Lions matchup approaching on the horizon. Here, we're going to talk about what truly matters right now. Pushpin the impact of the injuries. Pushpin where this team really stands. Pushpin and how far this roster can go while adjusting in the middle of the storm. So stick with me until the end, because this video is about the present and the immediate future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you're part of Steelers Nation, make sure to hit that like button to support the channel and show that the strength of this fan base never fades. Isaac Seumalo leaving the game with a triceps injury immediately raised alarms, but Tomlin's tone matters here. He made it clear that Seumalo is questionable, not shut down, and will begin the week limited in practice. That alone tells you this is not season-ending, and considering how important Seumalo has been during this recent stretch, that is a massive relief. Earlier in the year, he already battled through an injury, missed time, and then returned to deliver one of his best runs of football as a Steeler. Losing him again would have been devastating for continuity, so the fact that there's real optimism he could return soon keeps this offensive line from slipping backward at the worst possible moment. But the bigger concern, and the one that should really have your attention, is happening on the edge. Nick Herbig suffered a hamstring injury and is also questionable. Tomlin admitted he didn't even have a full medical picture yet, which tells you this could go either way. Add that to the fact that there was no definitive update on TJ Watt, and suddenly the strength of this defense feels fragile. Watt, coming off a partially collapsed lung suffered during a dry needling session, is the ultimate wild card. If anyone can bounce back quickly from something that physically draining, it's him, but even Tomlin acknowledged how taxing that type of injury can be. What is questionable, and that word carries real weight this week. Now picture the scenario Steelers fans don't want but have to be ready for. If Watt can't go, and Herbig can't go, the rotation changes dramatically. Alex Highsmith becomes the unquestioned number one edge rusher. Rookie Jack Sawyer would be thrust into his first NFL start, on the road, against one of the best right tackles in football, Penei Sewell. That's not easing someone into the league, that's trial by fire. Highsmith would almost certainly see heavy double teams, while Detroit would feel comfortable letting Sewell handle Sawyer one-on-one. In that situation, DeMarvin Leal likely becomes the third rotational edge, and Peyton Wilson turns into your emergency option. That's not panic, that's reality, and it shows how thin things can get fast. There are other names to monitor as well. Andrew Peat is still in concussion protocol. James Pierre missed the last game with a calf injury and remains questionable. These aren't small footnotes. They directly affect who starts and who sits in key spots. Tomlin was asked point-blank about left tackle and cornerback, and he refused to commit. Dylan Cook played extremely well at left tackle, but Tomlin wouldn't say if Cook would keep the job if Pete clears protocol. The same went for cornerback. Asante Samuel Jr., in his first start as a Steeler, grabbed his first interception with the team. When asked if James Pierre would automatically reclaim his starting role once healthy, Tomlin wouldn't give that answer either. That tells you competition is real, and nothing is being handed out. Then came the best news of the day, and it cannot be overstated how important it is. Derek Harmon is back. The first-round rookie defensive tackle out of Oregon will return against Detroit after missing 3 straight games and 5 total this season with a knee injury. His timing couldn't be better. Harmon has been one of the most impactful run defenders on this roster when healthy, and with just 3 games left, a division lead, and playoff positioning on the line, getting him ramped up now is critical, especially when you're about to face one of the most dangerous running back tandems in the league in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. The run defense improved against Miami, but Harmon brings a level of physicality and disruption that simply hasn't been there without him. And all of this sets the stage for the bigger storyline that continues to hang over this team, how they're winning, and who they're winning with. Aaron Rodgers addressed it himself after the game, and his words stuck. He talked about the so-called cast-offs, the players who were overlooked, released, doubted, or discarded by other teams. Kenny Gainwell signed for next to nothing. Connor Hayward was an afterthought and scored a touchdown. Marquez Valdes-Scantling bounced around the league and found the end zone. Adam Thielen was cut. Asante Samuel Jr. spent time on the street. James Pierre wasn't viewed as a starter and now grades among the best corners in football. Dylan Cook was a practice squad-type player and delivered the best left tackle performance the Steelers have seen all season. This roster is full of players other teams gave up on, and that's not an accident. Rodgers himself fits that mold. Written off by the Jets, doubted all offseason, labeled too old, selfish, or washed, he's done the opposite of what many expected. He's avoided media, bought into Mike Tomlin's culture, and over the last 2 weeks has been efficient, accurate, and in control. Whether that continues is a conversation for later, but right now, it's part of why this team believes it can survive adversity. So here we are, a team winning games, fighting injuries, reshuffling depth, getting key pieces back, and leaning on players no one else believed in. With Detroit up next and the stakes only rising, the questions are unavoidable. How confident are you in this roster's ability to weather the injuries on defense and keep this momentum going right now? Because when you strip everything down, this stretch of the season is no longer about what the Steelers might become. It's about what they are right now, and how much stress this roster can absorb without cracking. The injuries, the lineup questions, the constant questionable tags on the report, they're not background noise anymore. They are shaping how Mike Tomlin has to manage this team on a weekly basis and how aggressive he can afford to be. The defensive front is the clearest example. Getting Derek Harmon back changes the interior dynamic immediately, but it doesn't magically solve the uncertainty on the edge. If TJ Watt is limited or unavailable, the defense has to win differently. That means tighter run fits, more discipline on early downs, and less margin for freelancing. It also means asking young and rotational players to execute without hesitation. Jack Sawyer isn't being asked to be a star. He's being asked to survive, to hold his ground, and to let the scheme protect him where it can. That's a heavy ask in your first NFL start, especially against an offense that knows exactly where it wants to attack weakness. And this is where Tomlin's refusal to commit publicly to starters actually matters. At left tackle, Dylan Cook earned trust with his performance, but trust in this building is fluid. If Andrew Peat clears protocol and practices well, the staff has a decision to make, not a default answer. At cornerback, Asante Samuel Jr. didn't just make a play. He made a statement. An interception in your first start carries weight, especially when the alternative is a player coming off injury. Tomlin keeping those doors open sends a message to the locker room. Production matters, availability matters, and nothing is guaranteed just because of past roles. That mindset ties directly into the identity Aaron Rodgers described. This isn't a roster built on pedigree alone. It's built on urgency. Guys who know they might not get many chances elsewhere are playing like every snap matters, because for them, it does. That urgency shows up in small moments, in third down routes, in special teams reps, in linemen fighting to stay on the field through limited practices. It's not pretty football all the time, but it's purposeful. The offense reflects that same balance between confidence and caution. The wide receiver room is functioning because everyone understands their place. DK Metcalf has been productive. Adam Thielen is winning with precision. Marquez Valdez-Scantling provides situational value. Calvin Austin III stretches the field. That's why the idea of adding someone like Allen Lazard isn't about star power. It's about fit, role acceptance, and whether adding another piece actually improves chemistry or just adds noise. Right now, the offense doesn't need disruption. It needs health and continuity. And that brings the conversation back to Rodgers himself. What he's doing right now isn't about proving people wrong in sound bites. It's about controlling games when the Steelers need stability most. Efficient throws, smart decisions, and a willingness to let others shine. That's why the discussion about his future even exists. Not because of nostalgia, but because of functionality. If he keeps this level of play, he gives the Steelers options. He buys time for development. He gives the locker room belief that the window is still open, even as pieces are constantly moving around it. The reality is simple and uncomfortable at the same time. This team is good enough to compete with anyone, but only if it stays connected. Lose too many bodies in one area, and the balance tips. Get timely returns like Harmon, get just enough from Watt or Herbig, and suddenly the picture looks very different. That's the razor-thin edge the Steelers are living on right now, and that's why this next stretch matters more than any single performance. It will reveal whether this roster's resilience is sustainable, or whether the injuries finally catch up. Let me know what you think. Do you believe this team has enough depth and resolve to keep winning through this adversity? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want the second part of this conversation on how it all unfolds from here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and keep the video rolling on your screen, because the next chapter of this story is already taking shape. What can't be ignored anymore is how intentional every decision feels inside this building right now. Nothing is accidental. When Tomlin keeps answers vague, it's not coach speak for the sake of it. It's leverage. It's competition. And it's protection for a roster that's being held together by execution more than reputation. The Steelers are not chasing style points. They are chasing survivability. And that's often how dangerous teams are built in December. Look at how the coaching staff is managing risk. They are not rushing injured players back just to satisfy a depth chart. They are also not committing to veterans simply because of past snaps. Availability is currency right now. If you practice, if you execute, if you show reliability, you play. That's how Dylan Cook ended up holding his own at left tackle. That's how Asante Samuel Jr. turned one opportunity into instant relevance. That's how guys like Ben Skoranek, DeMarvin Leal, and others keep finding ways onto the field in meaningful moments. This is not about names. It's about function. Defensively, the return of Derek Harmon does more than plug a hole. It resets responsibilities. Linebackers can flow more freely. Safeties don't have to cheat downhill as early. That matters against a physical team like Detroit, where one missed fit can turn into a drive-changing run. Harmon doesn't just make tackles. He forces offenses to respect the interior, and that's been missing. His presence could be the difference between surviving without what at full strength and being exposed. And if what does play, even at less than 100%, that changes the math immediately. Offenses still have to account for him. Chips, slides, altered protection schemes. Even limited, his gravity affects the game. That's why the Steelers can afford to be patient. They don't need superhero performances from everyone. They need collective discipline. Offensively, the confidence level is quietly rising. Not because the playbook suddenly expanded, but because trust is forming. Rodgers trusts where his receivers will be. Receivers trust the ball will come on time. The run game doesn't need to dominate. It just needs to be respected. That balance is what keeps this team from beating itself. And for a franchise built on defense and ball security, that's the blueprint. This also explains why there's no panic about roster additions. Bringing someone in just to bring someone in doesn't align with what this team is doing right now. Chemistry matters. Role clarity matters. Everyone in that locker room understands the hierarchy, and more importantly, they understand the urgency. Disrupting that for a marginal upgrade could cost more than it gains. The Steelers aren't trying to convince anyone they're the best team in football. They're trying to be the hardest team to eliminate. There's a difference, and as the season tightens, that difference becomes an advantage. This is a team built to absorb pressure, to adjust on the fly, and to lean on belief when talent gaps appear. That belief doesn't come from hype. It comes from surviving weeks like this. So now it comes down to execution. Can the young players handle the moment if their numbers are called again? Can the veterans manage their bodies and still deliver when it matters most? Can the coaching staff keep pulling the right levers without overplaying their hand? Those answers are coming fast. If you've stayed with me through this entire breakdown, make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and keep the video on your screen. Because the next game is going to tell us exactly who these Steelers really are.